Yes, guys, welcome to Chasing Green Arrows. This is FPL Insight. I'm Gianni, the FPL guy, and I'm joined by Football Insider and live from Palm Springs, California, Mr. Dean Jones. Dean, how
Hello,
are
mate. Yeah, I'm good. Well, of course I'm good. I'm in Palm Springs. Very hot though, mate. And when I say very hot, I mean it's like 110 degrees. So whatever that is in Celsius, I don't even know. But as they keep just showing on the TV screens, like the outlook for the week, it's like 110, 108, 109. And you think, oh, in the evenings it'll get nice in the evenings. It's just as hot. I don't know how it can be just as hot without the sun out, but somehow it's just as hot, no breeze. So it is fun, but it's also a bit unbearable at times. But not going to complain. That's very much a first world problem.
Yeah, loving that. I'm glad you're available for these shows. Look, we're back for our pre-season specials. So look, we're going to have a fair few shows before it all kicks off on August the 5th. But coming up in today's show, we've got some cool features. We've been planning this all summer. We're going to be looking at some of the top transfers coming into the league, maybe changing teams. Dean's going to give us some brilliant insight there. We're going to be looking at the fixtures. Obviously, they're announced. We don't know player prices, but we're going to try guessing a few. We want your help with that. We're also going to be looking at some of the comparisons of some of those hot forwards like Haaland, Núñez, Jesus, maybe some midfield comparisons in there as well, perhaps involving Vieira at Arsenal, Raphinha, maybe soon to be at Chelsea. So I'm looking forward to this one, Dean. We've got it's been a busy summer so far, right?
Oh, mate, it's been good fun. Obviously, like this is my world, the transfer world, and sometimes I genuinely do find it more interesting than the actual football. But it's been crazy. And do you know what? Like Chelsea have been absolute game changers. Like a lot of clubs thought that, coming out of the Abramovich era, they might get the jump on Chelsea a little bit. It would take a little bit of time for them to find their feet. Tuchel working with Todd Bowley and how they're going to figure that out. Well, what they've been doing is that Bowley, like, he's come in as an owner and he's literally ringing up other owners going like, oh, I want one of your players. How much for him? Like, oh, how about if I take the lit off you and you have 2 or 3 of my players, which ones do you want? And he's literally like, it's a bit chaos, don't get me wrong, and it's not normal, but it's quite fun. Like from my point of view, like you're hearing loads of stuff. I've got to say that. Like Chelsea, like I've always had reasonable insight on Chelsea anyway, but I've got to say, like there are a lot of streams at the moment, like a lot of avenues to get little bits of Chelsea news. So it's quite good from my point of view. And I think Chelsea are going to come out of it okay in the end.
Yeah.
I think that like the best thing about this, I think, is like Tuchel's going to get like the personnel that he needs and wants. You know, he's been able to do bits and pieces to change what he wants at Chelsea. But ultimately, his big signing so far was Lukaku, who he didn't want and he's got rid of already. And now he's actually going to get some players he wants because he's only him deciding.
Yeah, quite nice that. Quite nice indeed. It's going to be, I can't wait to see what Chelsea do. Centre-backs are needed, but so much more. And guys in the chat, let us know who you think Chelsea need to buy. Stephen, thank you very much for your message. It's good to see so many familiar faces back with us again this season. FPL Rivers with us. I've seen Mohamed's with us. Good stuff. Had a crazy good season last year. I think I saw Tiffany earlier as well. Welcome back, Tiffany. And if you're joining for the first time, guys, this is Chasing Green Arrows and FPL Insight. And Dean and I do 2 of these shows every week throughout the season. It will usually be on Mondays and Fridays, 7 p.m. We stream them. Why do we stream them? Well, we want to interact with you guys, want to answer your questions. So it's all live. Get questions in. Help us produce what is going to be an amazing 45 minutes worth of content where we want your takes too. Mohamed says, what's happening with Raphinha, Dean? That's the $1 million question right now for Chelsea fans, but perhaps for Barca and Arsenal fans too.
I mean, this is a bit tricky because Raphinha wants to join Barcelona still, and he's kind of just been waiting for that to happen. At the moment, like the proposals that Barca can put forward to Leeds aren't close to what Chelsea can give. So at the moment, he's going to have no choice but to join Chelsea. Don't get me wrong, like he's happy to join Chelsea if that's what it comes to, but ultimately he wants his agent to find out whether there's any way that door can be open to Barca. And we've seen before that Barca do make things happen. Like they find a way to make transfers, even when it seems they've got literally nothing to offer financially. They'll find a way. They're Barcelona, and especially if they know the player wants to come to them. So look, Chelsea still feel that they will get this done. There's an offer on the table. I think it's a 5-year contract. It's big money. It's a good fit for where they want to go, but Barca still just lurking there at the moment. Hopefully, it gets settled soon for you guys.
I love that Barcelona still haven't registered like some of their free transfers, like Kessie, Christensen, yet they're still being linked with these massive moves. Like, aren't they? I think they're selling some of their image rights as well. Like, it's just crazy club.
Totally, yeah.
Okay, let's get into the meaty stuff. Like, the reason we love having Dean on these shows and coming to your own pre-season is around like the transfer story. So let's continue on that theme and go into our first feature of the night: Transferenomics. I love that name.
What was that? What was that? Better dressed than I am a lot of the time at the moment, I've got to say, but that the Palm Springs vibe. Anyway, I'll check. I'll try and dress like that later on.
Love that.
Transferenomics, yeah. So we're going to address like 4 of the big transfers, either ones that are imminent or ones that are being proposed, and give them a source rating basically. And the first one we're going to address is Gabi Jesus, obviously going to be an Arsenal player for next season. We know that now. Took a little convincing for this, but ultimately I'm giving it an extra hot rating this one. Because like it's so exciting for Arsenal to have like an actual proper Champions League centre forward, a player of that level. If they're going to get to the Champions League, they need a player that's good enough to lead them there. That's what they see Jesus as. I mean, you have to tell me what you think that the proposed fee will be in FPL, but I think that this guy is about to step it up a level. His output last season, I think, was 13 goals, 11 assists. That was in a team he wasn't really made to fit. This team is all going to be about him, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. It's a funny one because it seems like a lot of money that Arsenal are going to be paying for him. No, and I think he's only got a year left on his contract. Like, that was a bit surprising. It's a big fee, but I love seeing a player join a club where the coach or the manager in charge knows the player because they've worked with them before. That's when you have confidence over a move. And with Arteta coaching Jesus, you feel like when he recruits City players, he's going to know them inside out. And it seems like a good fit with Lacazette going. You're not going to win. You're going to get top 4 with Nketiah as your number 9. And Jesus wants to be the main man. And it looks like he's found a club where he can be the main man. Because at Spurs, if he'd gone Spurs, would he have even started every game? Who knows? So it seems like a great fit on paper. He might even get penalties. He's got a terrible penalty record. But, Martinelli and Saka have been on them. I think Jesus might go in there and say, I'm the big man here. I'm high wages, play for Brazil, coming from the champions. I'm on pens. Everything goes through me. Yeah. Is he prolific enough to make a real difference to that Arsenal team? Because I feel like his link-up play, like a Lacazette, will be very good. His pressing's very good. We know he's comfortable out wide. But being the main number 9, is he going to score enough goals? And that's our currency in FPL. We need to see him scoring more than the 8 goals, 8 assists he got in the 21-22 season, as we can see there.
Yeah, but I mean, this is what Arsenal have convinced him of. They're like, your output will improve here. Like, we're going to build around you. This will be the role you'll be playing primarily, like as the 9. There will be times when we play you off the wing, and Jesus quite enjoys playing off the wing, so he's got absolutely no problem with that. I think it'll just depend on the opposition, depend on who else is available in their setup. But ultimately, yeah, they're putting a lot of faith in him, and he's one of the main guys now in this team. That was never the case at Man City. I find it fascinating that Man City are actually like willing to sell key players at the moment to rival teams. Like, they are so confident in what they have that they are ready to let Jesus go Arsenal. They'll let Sterling go to Man City. They'll let Zinchenko go somewhere. They'll get Ake go to Chelsea, wherever he ends up. Like, they don't care. They're that confident. Like, they'd rather they went abroad, no doubt about that. But ultimately, Man City have this stance of like, if you actually don't want to be one of our players anymore, that's not a problem. We just need to find you a club that suits not only you, but us too in terms of the fee. And they're getting that from Jesus. I see a few people now predicting the price point. I mean, got to say, Nuclear says 8 million. If he's 8 million at the start of the season, I am snapping him up. I mean, what is realistic here?
I mean, I like the fact that the game's not out yet. I think the game not being out yet gives the Premier League a little bit more time to appreciate some of these moves and perhaps change the pricing of players. For example, Raphinha at Chelsea has to be a different price to Raphinha at Leeds. Well, if the game's not out for another week, they can have that time to evaluate that price. So look, here we go. We've put on 8.5. That's my prediction. I think he started the season last year at Man City at 8.5. He was certainly around that. And I don't think we're going to see much movement. Sure, he's in a team that score fewer goals than Man City, but he's going to get more minutes and he's probably going to play more central because at Man City a lot last year, he was wide right. So 8.5 seems fair. If he's cheaper, you're right, Dean. We probably will go there. However, a lot depends on Saka. Saka was 6.5 last year, proper underpriced. We all had him at some point. I don't think Saka's going to be anywhere near 8.5, even after a worldy season. I think Saka will be a 7.5 or an 8. And if he is, and you can get Saka for less, $1 million less than Jesus potentially, does that price us out of Jesus? Maybe so, because you only want one of them.
Yeah,
and
exactly
Saka's still very, very good.
Yeah, it sounds silly, but at 8.5, it gives you a much bigger question mark than 8 does. Like it's a big move. That is, it's like 8 is a bargain basically for an Arsenal number 9 that's got a point to prove and is really good. 8.5, you're like, oh, there's players out there that are 8.5 already. So interesting one. And, you know, James says 9 for Jesus. I definitely wouldn't be getting him at 9 at the start of the season anyway. Let's move on. This one, Raheem Sterling, obviously, Chelsea going
looks weird. That looks weird.
Does look weird, and I'm not sure about this deal. Last season, Raheem Sterling, 13 goals. I'm giving it a medium because I'm just not sure about Raheem Sterling at Chelsea. The reason they want him is because they are not happy with the output that they got last season from, you know, Werner, Ziyech, Hudson-Odoi, Pulisic. Mount did okay. You know, I think we've got to be happy with Mount's output, but like the rest of those guys, Lukaku, I think, got 15 in all comps. Like, he's obviously gone now anyway. Havertz got 14 in all comp. Like, they need goals in this team. And I think that the message that they're sending out with Sterling is that this is now important. Like, you've all had your chance to show me what you can do, but I need goals in this attack, and I need a different threat in this attack. And while Sterling hasn't been on top of his game for the past year, a lot of that's to do with the fact that Pep hasn't necessarily seen him as one of his starters. Also, you know, Sterling plays off the left a lot. I can see him playing off the right too at Chelsea. I think that there's more opportunities for him to play on both flanks at Chelsea, and it'll be able to switch up his game a little bit, give opponents something different to think about. I honestly thought if Sterling was going to leave Man City, he'd be going abroad, and that's what he wanted to happen. If he was going to stay in England, it had to be a Champions League club. It had to be someone that had a clear path for him and a clear vision for him personally. I spoke to someone yesterday. They said that Chelsea have convinced him. He's happy to go there now. He's ready to go through with this transfer. He's happy to join Chelsea. So this one is going to step forward, and I think it will probably get done. What's the price point going to be? And are we actually going to want him in our teams?
Oh, do you know what? His numbers don't lie, and they're very good. When you look at the last 3-4 seasons, even going back to Liverpool, like, he just clocks goals and assists. Now, sure, he's been in teams that score loads of goals and gets lots of assists, but he is always involved, and he's got such good movement that he scores so many tap-ins. Yep. I'm going high here. I think the Premier League could go big and go double digits. Like, a lot. Really? I'm thinking 9.5. I wouldn't be surprised with 10 or 10.5. I really wouldn't. Yeah. And I look at Sterling at Chelsea, and I'm not sure if it's going to be either hero or zero. It's either going to be a real success or a real flop. But I mean, age 27, like, he's been around forever, but he's only he should be hitting his peak this season. Like, at the age of 27, for his position, that should be the best year of his career. It's up there.
It should be, yeah. I've got a feeling he might have peaked 18 months ago, but we'll have to wait and see. The thing is with those tap-ins too, is like, he also misses loads of tap-ins. Yeah. Like, I don't know why, but the amount of, like, I've never looked closely at Sterling's XG, but there must be games when his XG is pretty high because he'll miss 2 or 3 at the far post.
Yeah, he's got to underperform it. He's got to underperform his XG, surely.
Yeah, definitely. But like, it shouldn't take a lot because the chances that he misses are often like pretty easy. That quickly can switch around. Like, just, I don't know if it's an attention thing or what it is with him, why he would miss such easy chances. But that wouldn't take a lot to turn a little bit. And as I say, if he was able to get 13 goals last season for that Man City team, is it plausible that we could see a player that's getting 18 goals next season? I think it could be, yeah.
Yeah. I think he'll get more Premier League minutes. Let's have a look, see what you guys think. Because at Man City, it was really hard with Pep Roulette. But if Chelsea are buying a wide forward, like Dembele and Sterling, it's because he's not happy with the current wide forwards. And you've got to think that'll be straight in the team. At Man City, we never knew. So James 98 saying 9, 9.5. Capital FM saying 9. A lot of the predictions are way lower than we've put here. And it'll be really interesting to see. Mohammed says he'd love Sterling at Chelsea. Yeah, I mean, it could... If he starts the season well and does go Chelsea, I think he'll be a bit of a bandwagon in FPL. He can provide such good value because he gets the chances. Desiro reckons 9. Low. James makes a very interesting point. And without the centre-backs, we need to see what Tuchel does pre-season. I think he's going to experiment with the back four. I don't know if he'll go there. If he does, a 4-3-3, Raphinha and Sterling not fitting into 3-4-2-1 so much. A 4-3-3 could suit Mason Mount as well, because you can play Jorginho or Kante with Kovacic and Mount in the 3, and then you go Havertz 9, and you go Raphinha one side, Sterling the other, or Dembele the other, whatever.
100%, yeah. And I mean, I think they're definitely going to try a 4 more. There's no doubt about that. Like, especially the personnel they've got right here, right now. We're looking at them starting the season, maybe even with a back 4. And then who's playing that 3 in midfield? Obviously, they've still got Kante and Jorginho. I don't expect that to be the case by the time the transfer window closes. Will they get Declan Rice? There is a possibility. It's only a small one right now, but they're going to at least knock on that door and see what they can get done. Then, of course, there's the whole Conor Gallagher conundrum. Like, one of the things that I've heard is that they want to get Mount and Gallagher into that midfield, along with one other, Declan Rice ideally, but maybe Kante or Jorginho. And then you have that explosivity, if you like, in attack, and that's going to mainly come from the flanks. And then Havertz, presumably, as that 9.
Like that a lot. Guys, if you're new around here, or if you just like us anyway, give us a like if you like the format we're with tonight, because this format might dictate some of the shows coming up in the next couple of weeks. So if you like what you're seeing tonight, do us a favor and hit that like button. Only 14 of you have done that.
Come on, help us out.
Right.
New season on the way.
Yeah, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Our aim, Dean, was to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the season. Nice. And we did that. So thank you guys for joining us. As I mentioned, Mondays and Fridays, usually, we're going to be coming twice a week, 7 p.m. UK time, streaming for you. We've got Richarlison next in a Spurs shirt, playing for Conte. I like this move. What do you reckon, Dean?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen if this has been officially announced yet, but this is on the verge of being completed if it is not already. I spoke to someone earlier on, and it's basically paperwork are all done, and this is a hot transfer. There is no doubt about it. Like, what a move! You know, when Richarlison started pushing for his transfer at the end of last season, the type of landing spots we were talking about, you know, they tried to see if I think he'd have gone PSG. I've got to be honest. If Mbappe would have left PSG, I think he was going to PSG. But then that door closed, and then we started to see him linked to Arsenal. I think it was linked to Man United. It was linked to Chelsea. I think Tottenham is a fantastic place for this guy to end up. And I've got to say that Tottenham now have such an armory for next season. And we've seen what they were capable of just with Kulusevski coming in for part of the season. Son hitting such good numbers last term. Harry Kane's role changing. Not entirely sure how many goals we'll get out of him next season. We'll have to wait and see on that one again. But for Richarlison, I would be inclined to expect him to step up. I think he got 10 goals last season in that poor Everton team. Let's look at what Son got. Son got 23, wasn't it? 23 goals.
Golden Boot
winner. Richarlison will be thinking, I want some of that. Get me in, get me beyond that last. Let me go as that last runner. Let me get in behind. I'll pull the strings too, by all means, but I'm a goal scorer. I will make things happen just like Son does. So I think if he got 10 in that Everton team last season, you could easily expect 15 from him at Tottenham. And if he really takes off in this team, then why not 20? It's a brilliant sign. I know Tottenham are really excited to have this one almost wrapped up. They've been looking for an additional forward to that front line. We were wondering, was it going to be a centre forward? Well, Richarlison can play any of those roles, and that is what is so perfect about this deal.
So good. Like, it's a front three. It won't be a front four in terms of can Kulu, Richarlison, Kane and Son play together. No, Conte wouldn't do that. He wouldn't overcommit. Remember, Conte's fullbacks are part of his front five. And I don't think any of these guys, even Kulusevski that has played fullback before, I don't think we're going to see him at wing back. So, look, Richarlison can step in for Kane when he's injured. He can step in for someone he's injured. And he can compete with Kulu for that starting spot in the front three. And I think he's probably going to ease his way in over Kulu eventually.
That's it, yeah. You know, there's been the Tottenham with that depth issue, but beyond those guys that we've talked about, you're looking at like Bergwijn and Lucas Moura, and like it's just not enough. It's not good enough. And someone asked there, like, whose minutes they could take. Well, he's just adding an extra layer of proper quality right now. Like, don't get me wrong, Bergwijn and Moura have been extremely good footballers and still are, but like, for where Tottenham are going right now, I feel like they're just dropping the other way of it, and Tottenham can't afford to have them hanging around.
Conte doesn't trust a Bergwijn or Lucas to come start big matches. And when you're playing Champions League every Tuesday, Wednesday night, you need that rotation. There's going to be too many fixtures, and just a great signing. James 98, will he get minutes? Not better than Kane or Son, and Kulu is arguably the most creative front player they've got. Yeah, look, Kulu's done very well, James, but I think Richarlison will come in and be competing with him, and they'll probably share some minutes early on. But we can't underestimate the amount of fixtures Spurs are going to have with Champions League. It's not like they've got their Thursday night games going to Eastern Europe, cities you've never heard of, where they can rest players. Like, these midweek games are going to be big. So there's going to have to be some rotation in the Premier League. It's hard to identify a first choice 11 because you rarely see it for these big teams at the start of the season, especially with the World Cup. So many fixtures, we're going to need rotation. So you need 4 from 3. And look, one's always injured anyway, right? Yeah. Often got a knock.
I mean, it's a £60 million transfer. He's going to play an 8 million.
That would be amazing, wouldn't it? 8 million
would be amazing. It actually would be amazing.
I think he started the season. I think he was 8 at Everton. The only difference at Everton in terms of points was he was listed as a forward, and he'll be back as a forward again. Ironically, Kulusevski will probably be a midfielder. Son could be a midfielder, although I expect him to come in as a forward. But Richarlison was on pens at Everton often. I don't think he started the season on pens, but he did get a few, didn't he? He won't get any at Spurs.
Yeah, literally none. Yeah, that is a fair point. But at £60 million, they're looking for a player there that can deliver. Got to flip this around for a second, by the way. Everton without Richarlison next season, like the guys that I'm hearing that they might replace him with, they're definitely at least a tier below.
Emmanuel Dennis is one linked, isn't he?
He's linked, yeah. There's a couple of guys in France I know that they're looking at. There's a couple of... Look, they've got financial difficulties, there's no doubt about it. They had to let at least one of Richarlison or Calvert-Lewin go. It might still be that Calvert-Lewin does actually go. I know that Newcastle are going to still make a big play for him. So that might still come on the radar. But Everton, they struggled enough with him last season. They might still be struggling big time next season without him.
James asked a question, will he be a forward? And my advice here, James, is the Premier League have got no reason to change Richarlison's position. Their job is to look at what happened last year and go, he played up front, therefore he's still a forward moving forward. Mm-hmm. Sure, you could go, Conte doesn't quite play that system. We know Kane will play. We know Son will play. Where does that leave Richarlison? It's not necessarily the Premier League's or FPL games job to try and second guess the positions of where that manager might put that player. So he's not done anything to take away from what he did last year as a forward. He will absolutely be a forward this year. And look, you could argue the likes of Perisic is an interesting one. Historically, he's played in a front three or as a wide forward, but they will look at where he played last season at Inter Milan and the season before that under Conte. He was a wing back. Therefore, if Emerson Royale is a defender, which he is, if Reguilon is a defender, then Perisic has to come in and be a defender.
I'm going to have to get Perisic. If they put him in midfield,
they'll make a massive error.
Yeah, I've got to get Perisic as a defender. Wow, at least to see how it works out at the start, because I don't think he'll even be that much.
Yeah, he'll be like 5.5, 6.
He'll be 5.5, won't he, or something like that? Because I think, he's an aging player been brought in. Like Perisic has got a lot to offer next season if he's fit enough. Let's go to the last one. I've got a little bit left field here to talk about someone that we haven't seen anything of in the Premier League, but we might, because Gabriel, the Brazilian forward, is being offered to half the Premier League, basically. So Gabriel Barbosa is his actual name. Gabriel is how we would all know him if he was to land. I'm sure that some people watching this stream are very aware of this guy. He's he knows where the goal is. He's a good player, but I mean, he's linked with Newcastle, and I've given it here a medium rating. He's also linked with Aston Villa, linked with West Ham. There is a decent chance he does end up in the Premier League because they're pushing this one so hard. Look, when he's at his best, he gets in the Brazil team as the number 9. I mean, admittedly, it doesn't happen very often in like the most recent of times, but in fairness, his competition to get into that Brazil team is Jesus, Raphinha, Neymar, Vinicius Junior, Anthony Paqueta, like Richarlison. Like, it's not like he's like can just walk into that team. So fair enough. But yeah, Inter Milan wonder kid 4 years ago. Exactly that. Look, it didn't work out for him at Inter.
It was a big money move at the time, wasn't it? Inter spent money bringing him to Europe, and it just didn't work out.
It was a gamble that didn't pay off, like it often can't with Brazilians. A fair play, like he's gone back to Flamengo, scores about 1 in 2. He's changed his playing style a bit. Like he used to be all about tricks and flicks, but also got goals.
The new
These
Neymar.
days, I read an article about like what is he now, and people would call him like maybe in a comparison to Icardi or somebody like that. Mm-hmm. I just think it's going to be an interesting one to watch out for, and like because if he did land, ahead of the season or just as the season starts, people are going to be wondering like, well, do I get this guy in or not? And he genuinely might be worth a punt. Like, let's see which team it is he ends up at. But if it was Newcastle, I could actually see it working out. As it is at the moment, like there are other clubs too that he's been offered to, and Newcastle, just want to make clear, they are going for Calvert-Lewin as their number 1 target. So this isn't going to be like their top target. They're going after Newcastle, going after Calvert-Lewin and Moussa Diaby at Bayer Leverkusen. They're going to go after both those guys pretty heavily in the next week. But a price for Gabriel, I mean, the problem the game makers would have with a player like this is they have very little to base it on. So you've got 8. I mean, is that just because they're going to have to? His
record's very good. Like, my thing is, if you're playing in South America week in, week out, and you're getting in the Brazil squad, knowing how many amazing Brazilians are in Europe, you're amongst the league's best players, and we know how well Flamengo have done in recent years. He's also got the blonde hair of Joel Linton, Brazilian at Newcastle, and who's the midfielder they bought from Lyon? What's his name? Again, blonde hair. Bruno Guimaraes. Blonde hair at Newcastle. So he fits the bill with his blonde. But I just think 8.0. I think Callum Wilson started the season at 8.0 or 7.5. I think they'll look at Callum Wilson and they'll look at Gabriel and go, same side, same position, good records when fit. 8.0 seems a bit heavy, but knowing his numbers have been so good in recent years, I think they would go quite high on him.
Yeah,
Yusuf thinks 7. Fair.
7.
FPL River's gone 7.5.
Yeah, it'll be 7 or 8, won't it? Just want to say, I know you're going to talk about this player in a bit anyway, but I just got a text through saying Calvin Phillips will be having his medical tomorrow at Man City, and that deal will be done by Monday.
Nice. Breaking news. Love that.
Yeah, so I just thought I'd pass that on as we're chatting, because that is going to be a very interesting one. It's probably one of those reasons that Man City are happy for players like Jesus and Sterling to move on as they start to transition and get in Haaland and Calvin Phillips and just, make sure that level's still there.
Yeah. Look forward to that. Okay, guys, we'll have a few questions from you before we move on. Capital FM, cracking question this. Could it be part of the De Ligt deal? Even outside of that, Werner to Juve, how does that fit? Does that work for you, Dean?
I don't think Juve would particularly want him, but this is one
Di
of those
Maria's that you're going Juve as well now. So.
Yeah. I presume that'll be done because with all these free agents coming into play tomorrow, I imagine there's a fair bit to happen there, and Pogba too going into Juve.
Yeah.
But this is one of those I talked about at the start about Bowley ringing clubs up and being like, okay, we want De Ligt. How about you take Jorginho, Werner, and I don't know, someone else? And clubs are like, oh, that's a bit weird. He's 103 million. So how about you just give us that? They're like, no, how about we don't? And it makes sense because, you bring in an American owner. American sport is all about trades and things like that. The transfer market is kind of alien to him, and he's entering this world. He's got people advising him, of course, but ultimately he's trying to make things happen, and that's why the Werner things come about.
Yeah. One more question before we move on from James98. Guys, if you're new around here, give us a like. If you like the content we're producing tonight, those like buttons will determine what we do moving forward. And I'm hoping you're enjoying this format for our pre-season shows. We want to continue it. So hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe. But James is asking about Harry Winks. I think he's been linked again today with Leeds, but Everton's the big link as a Phillips replacement, although I'm not sure if they need him. They've just bought the guy from Bayern. Do we like Harry Winks at Everton? Can we see that moving forward? I mean, there's still like 20 million being like rumoured with Harry Winks.
20 million. I mean, they obviously don't want to pay 20 million because Everton don't really have that kind of money to be spending on somebody like Harry Winks. So they're trying to find other ways to do that deal. Lampard does like him. And I can see it being done. But if I'd be amazed if it did actually pan out to be a 20 million deal. If we go back to the time when Richarlison was being linked to Chelsea, I think might have become part of the deal and might have like eased the burden of it all. But Harry Winks. The thing with Harry Winks and people at Tottenham, like they think he's a good player, but ultimately Oliver Skipp was always seen as like a much better player going forward. And I was talking about Richarlison and something I said Chelsea, didn't I, instead of Tottenham? But that I think that while avenues were open, it was discussed. It didn't happen. But Harry Winks, I think, is likely to be an Everton player. Let's leave it at that. But from an FPL point of view, I don't think it matters. Like, there's absolutely no way. There's no way any of us are picking him, surely.
Yeah, exactly. He's never been one for goals or assists.
No.
Okay, guys, we'll move on. We're going to got a bit more FPL chat coming up now in the show. So let's have a look at a new section called FPL Tips and Chips. Outstanding. I love that. First time I've seen that graphic. If you like it, let us know. Guys, this is the point in the show where we'll be doing, thanks, Dean. We'll be doing a different theme each week and let us know what sort of FPL topic you would like us to talk about in future shows. So it could be rotating pairs for enabling defenders. It could be the best wide forwards. It could be chip strategy moving forward for the season. So today we're going to be talking about comparing some of the big names and looking at the fixtures. So let's start with the fixture ticker and shout out to Holly Shandu, who we've sort of used inspired by her fixture ticker. And we can see it. First 4 game weeks, these are the teams at the top: Arsenal, Liverpool, Villa, City, Wolves, Brentford. We've gone for the top 10 here. So these are the teams we're probably looking at when we're building our game week 1 teams. Why? Well, so many of us wildcard by game week 4, by game week 5. We really do have to look at the immediate with fixtures. So important because we might not plan to wildcard in game week 4 or game week 5, but you just know inevitably so many will. Therefore, let's build a team with those with a sea of green. And Arsenal, Leeds and City all in the top 4, Dean. Like, there's very popular FPL assets in those 3 teams. So we've been very lucky. So in a way, it's been made a little bit easy for us by having 3 of the big teams in the top 4.
Yeah, definitely. And look, can we just take a moment to mourn my Fulham team?
I'm right at the bottom, aren't they?
I'll properly like.
I think they're 19th.
Yeah, I mean, our start to the season is a tough one, but you've got to play these teams. And actually, I'd argue that like if you were going to play Liverpool, then why not just play them on the first day of the season and get it out the way? Hope that people are injured or haven't had time to gel or whatever it is. But yeah, look, you can see the top 2 there. Arsenal have got Fulham in game week 4, and Liverpool got Fulham game week 1. Yeah, I mean, as you say, it makes decisions like Jesus easier. So if Jesus was an £8 million forward in the game and that's his first 4 games, then you're jumping all over him, aren't you?
Yeah.
You could even probably gamble that you're taking Saka too, to be honest. And if you want another, take another, because that run of games, there's got to be goals in there. Like Arsenal have an unbelievable chance to get off to a good start to the season and kind of raise morale. And don't forget, in those weeks too, it might be that they're even still convincing a player to join or something like that, and it can be done just by their first outing of the season, and they go and blitz Crystal Palace. Liverpool will be very happy with theirs, and yeah, I have to say beyond the top 4 that you just mentioned there, I'm a bit skeptical about whether I'll be like particularly looking at Wolves players, because I don't think, as it stands, Wolves have a good enough team to be like counting on. Brentford, I don't, Ivan Toney maybe you'd be looking at, but Everton, there's no chance I'm picking any Everton players until like halfway through the season to see if they're actually any good. But those top four, without doubt, like that's where the bulk of people's teams needs to be made.
Nuclear, we're going to get to your question very soon. Before we do, just my little nod on these fixtures is, as Dean says, there's some underwhelming teams in the middle there that you're looking at going, oh, do I want their FPL assets? But the big thing is until player prices are out, we don't know how we're going to build our teams. But my sense is many will be going big at the back this year. And with that in mind, how many premium midfielders and forwards can you accommodate? Most will only have two. If you have two, almost certainly it's going to be a Liverpool player, and we know who it's going to be, Mo Salah. And almost certainly, not only with Haaland signing, but with these fixtures and KDB's form at the end of last season, there's going to be a Man City premium in your team. Probably Haaland, right? So let's say we've all got Haaland and Salah. We all have 3 or 4 good defenders because Perisic, James, Chilwell, Cancelo, Trent, to name a few before I've even gone to the likes of Trippier, who could be really good value. Can you accommodate Kane, Son? I don't think you can. And those fixtures make me think that you might go without Kane or Son till game week 4, 5, 6, whenever. Because it's not the easiest start. Southampton's nice. Chelsea away. Wolves is never an easy fixture for Spurs. I just wonder if Kane and Son will have low ownership, and maybe that's an opportunity for those that want to gamble. But you would be picking Kane or Son probably instead of a Man City attacker. That could be very dangerous. Yeah, so I look forward to seeing how that rolls out.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, and now for Haaland, like it's a lovely start for the season to him, isn't it? Those first 4 games, like he needs to bag a few just to get up and running and just to back himself even more than he normally does.
Yeah, here we go. Nuclear's asked about Haaland and Nunes, and guys, we work with your requests here, and already we've put together a graphic answering Nuclear Adams' question. Not only have we got their pictures and their nationalities, we got some stats, and we're comparing them with Gabby Jesus. These 3 guys are all going to be forwards in FPL. Sure, they will be different price points. Haaland, probably 11.5, 12. Nunes and Jesus could be 8.5 to 10. What do we think here, Dean? Like, firstly, how excited... We have to talk about the main man here. Haaland's record is insane. Sure, it's been in Austria and been in Germany, but we're talking about one of the top 2, 3 strikers in world football coming to our league. It's very exciting.
It is exciting, yeah. I was saying earlier on about the fact that, City are now got to the point where they're happy for Sterling and Jesus to move on. Just shows even more that they're willing to back this guy to fire the goals that they would normally have leaned on those guys for. We're also going to see a time when Grealish has to step up big time this season, and Foden's going to have to back himself too and step up. But ultimately, Haaland's going to come in. The penalty issue is going to be solved now for Manchester City. Like, they have a penalty taker. He's very good at them. Miss a couple maybe, but like most of the time, like absolutely safe. He'll be on pens all season. Like the way he scores goals, like it's very hard to see him failing. But first seasons aren't easy in the Premier League. They're not easy. This isn't a guarantee of success. Like it's probably as good a punt as you could ever make on a striker coming in and being successful, but it's not a guarantee. I think it's just going back to those first 4 fixtures. That's what really gives you the confidence that this is going to work out. Like, if they were tougher games and he was going to be really tested against big defenders, then okay. But West Ham, Bournemouth, Newcastle, and Crystal Palace.
It's a nice run, that.
Erling Haaland's like, yes, please. Thank you. That's exactly
summer
what
off as well. No World Cup coming up. Like, he's had a bit of a rest. Like, let's chuck a few doubts at you then, Dean, because look, you watch a lot of the Bundesliga. You see a lot of the Portuguese league with Nunes. So I want to get not many. Yeah, we've all heard of Haaland. We all see him score Champions League goals. But let's talk a little bit about how Haaland plays, how Nunes especially plays, because I know not many have watched them. So, look, Haaland has relied a lot on counter-attacks at Dortmund, right? He's in a team that don't counter-attack much. They have the ball all the time, high up the pitch. Is that a concern? The other concern I'm going to hit you with is his injury record. That shouldn't matter too much in FPL because you can sell him whenever you want to sell him if he gets injured, and Harry Kane and Son are the same price point, whatever. But are they 2 slight concerns? We all know the good, But these two concerns.
Yeah, I think tactically I'm not concerned because, like, if you look at the way that Man City score goals, the cutback method, for example, like Haaland's going to eat them up absolutely no problem. Like that is easy for him. And on top of the cutbacks that he's scoring and stuff, he'll make goals for himself. He'll score headers. He'll smash them from the edge of the box.
6'4", 6'5", and he's a big boy.
Yeah, do you know what I saw when he was unveiled at Man City? I watched his video of him going through his medical and stuff, and he said
his story because I've heard you tell it. Go on.
And he says that they're like measuring him and stuff, and Haaland goes to the guy, "It's how tall am I?" I can't remember the exact measurement now, but the doc tells him, and he goes, "Oh, I've grown." And they're like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, I've grown." So he'd grown like, I can't remember what it was now. It's a couple of centimeters or something. But it's like, what? Erling Haaland is still growing. Like
that's why he gets injured all the time. He's a growing lad. His body shape's a bit dysfunctional. He's still not filled out.
And he's so awkward. I think I said in the same podcast, like there was a video of him like being carted around. He's in Barcelona. He was in a private jet. Then he's in a taxi. And he literally has to unfold himself. He's like, he is an absolute monster. He's a Frankenstein of football. Yeah, like he's just got everything you could possibly want physically. I haven't got many doubts about him. The injuries, we'll have to see whether that was something that he's recovered from. It was a big problem last season. He's missed a lot of games. But it could have just been to do with Dortmund's methods. It might have been their style of play. It might have been their style of training. There's no better place for him to be than Man City and the strict ways that they're assessed there. But Nunez is nowhere near the full package. He's nowhere near the full package. And like,
they've bought potential, haven't they?
They've bought potential. Like City have bought the end product. Liverpool have bought hope. And don't get me wrong, he's a good player, but he's not a great player yet. And there's a lot of little pieces to still come together in his game. And I don't think that's necessarily a problem. The guy's 23 years old. And I think in the next 2 years, he will become great. And I think that's what Liverpool ultimately needed. Obviously, Mane now gone. Salah will go over the next year. They've bought in Diaz and they've got Jota and they've still got Firmino. They've got a good front three there still, and like they'll go into next season with Diaz, Nunez, and Salah as their front three. And the first day of next season against my Fulham, and they'll probably batter them. Let's be honest. Like I'd like to not.
It's Salah captain all day long.
Accept this, but it looks like Salah's going to have to still be a captain if those three are fit and ready to go on the first day of the season. As it stands, Fulham's defence is so bad. Like we were barely had a good defence in the Championship, and in the Premier League, if we don't get it sorted out quickly and they get some new guys get time to gel, that could be a 4-0. It really could. I hate to say it, but it could. And it might be that Nunez needs that good start to give him a bit of confidence, and it might work for him. And as for Gabi Jesus, I'd say Gabi Jesus at the moment is a better player than Nunez. I'd say there's a chance that Gabi might even be able to outscore him, if I'm honest, across the course of this season. We'll have to wait and see on exactly where Nunez plays. Does he always play down the centre? Because he can drift across too. But you'd imagine, like, if you've got Diaz and Salah, like he's probably mainly going to be used through the middle.
Should we do some numbers for them all? Let's give FPL Salah asked a great question. Like, how many goals is Haaland going to get? So we'll give you a one-word answer on all three, on Haaland, Nunez, Jesus. So I'll go. Let's go one by one. Now, Haaland, I'm going to go Premier League goals. I think he's going to get the Golden Boot with 23.
Okay, I'm actually going to go 18.
Okay, Nunez, I'm going to say he doesn't start the season, and Jota does, and he gets 9 league goals.
Okay, I'm going to go. Yeah, I was going to say 13. I might drop it to 12. Yeah,
and then Jesus, if he's on pens, I think he could have a really good season at 14, 15 goals.
Yeah,
but if he's not 15. On pens, take 4 or 5 off.
Oh, that'd be bad. I'm going to go 15. I think Jesus 15. Yeah. So yeah, based on that, I'll say we're saying go for Jesus ahead of Nunez at the start of the season.
Guys, we'll move on to some midfielders. We'll spend a little less time on these because they're not as sexy in terms of their picks. Like, I don't think many of us are going to be buying these guys other than Raphinha. And I know all of you are thinking, what's Phillips doing there? We have to talk about Phillips because it's a Man City signing, but obviously DMs in FPL, we don't really go there. He could be 5 million. He could play a little bit more advanced, possibly if Gundogan is sold and Bernardo's injured or or he's playing alongside Rodri. But let's talk a little bit about Vieira, because you watched the Portuguese league, Dean. New Balance vibes this way. 6 goals, 14 assists. People like him in Portugal. Very creative. Where's his best position? A number 10, Odegaard's position, right?
Well, this is the problem. He's the same as Odegaard. Sam from our play and Jack were looking through this, and like his heat map is almost identical to Odegaard. They take up very, very similar positions. So it's going to be interesting to see like how Arsenal plan to accommodate him in their life. Don't get me wrong, like he is very, very good. Like this is a really interesting signing. But I don't totally understand what Arsenal see the need for. Like,
is he going to play number 8 a bit deeper alongside a Partey? But then does that leave him a bit short of muscle in the middle because it's not Xhaka and Partey together?
I mean, I'm presuming that's what they're going to have to do. I'm really looking forward to pre-season. Actually, this is one of the best things, isn't it, about FPL 2? Like when we start to see the pre-seasons, because it's like players like this are so fascinating because I've seen him play in Portugal a few times, and I've seen him up close and like seen him run games. He's genuinely brilliant like that. And we've seen that Portuguese players have adapted really well to the Premier League, so that shouldn't be a problem for him because he genuinely was one of the best guys in that league. In this team, I just want to see like what the vision is for him, because at the moment, I'm not sure.
Yeah. All right, Raphinha. Huge signing if he goes Chelsea for numbers, because he creates bags of chances at Leeds. Like his expected assists are always sky high. He sometimes underwhelms. I don't think he gets many, if any, double-digit returns. I think that will change in a blue shirt at Chelsea. If he comes to Chelsea, he'll be on a lot of set pieces with Mason Mount. He'll play a lot of games. And I think him and Havertz could have a real nice chemistry, because Havertz is very good in the air. The crosses Raphinha puts in. 11 goals, 3 assists at Leeds last year. Expect those numbers to grow. His FPL price could be 7.5, 8 million midfielder. It could be very good value, Dean. But will he go? We don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Chelsea doing all they can at the moment, just waiting and hoping that Barcelona can't find a way to get him. It would be a totally different forward, really, to what we've seen Havertz having to link up with so far. As I said before, the output wasn't good enough at Chelsea last season, and the style of forward was a bit. It was just a lot. It took a while to get things going. Mason Mount was often the guy that would get things going, and I think it helps Lukaku now being totally out of the picture too, because when he was there, he didn't function properly with the way that Tuchel wanted to build a team. It has caught me by surprise a little bit, because I didn't think Chelsea would go for Raphinha so aggressively, and they made this move like pretty fast. Like they were like, "You want him? Let's go and get him." Then Barca are hesitating, and let's go. And it's interesting too, at the same time, they're still looking at Ousmane Dembele. So not only is Sterling and Raphinha, there's still Ousmane Dembele that Chelsea have been looking at. And someone said to me yesterday, don't be surprised that if they could do all 3 of those deals, they do all 3 of those deals and get rid of 3 others. Like that's how ineffective they felt their attack was last season in terms of what it needs to be to function properly under Tuchel.
So many wide forwards at Chelsea, and Tuchel, as you say, he's not sold on any of them. Nuclear Atoms, we'll answer your question very quickly and move on to Phillips. In FPL terms, would he be better at Chelsea or Arsenal? Like, quite simply, I think Chelsea. Like, I think he'd be good at Arsenal, but let's not forget Saka's best position. Although Gareth Southgate wants to play him as a left wing back or left back, Saka is brilliant right of a front 3. That's where Raphinha will play at Chelsea. That's where Raphinha will want to play at Arsenal. He's not a brilliant 10. He likes being wide. He hugs the touchline. So I think he's better in a blue shirt. Let's move on to Phillips. Like you've got some breaking news today, Dean, in terms of when he's gonna sign. You got a text 10-15 minutes ago, but it's gonna happen. He's not someone we look at goals and assists. Could that change at Man City? I mean, Rodri popped up with like 5-6 goals at the end, like in the Premier League season last year, with a few at the end. Yeah. Phillips just isn't going to get huge numbers, though. We know that. But at 4.55 million, is there any FPL interest?
Look, if he wants to expand his game. He wants to become an all-round midfielder, as does Declan Rice. Like these guys are obviously very good at what they do in terms of breaking up play and being a DM. But like City do have Rodri, and if you look at what Gundogan was able to do at Manchester City and the way that he was able to
develop, didn't he?
develop as a player and have different assets to his game. I think that Phillips could have the potential to do what Gundogan did, like those late runs into the box, things like that. If those could grow into his game, and Pep Guardiola is the perfect guy to be able to teach him how to do that. Like, Pep was a midfielder and certainly knows how to mold players of those positions and get more out of them. I think Calvin Phillips, this was just a move that was just way too good to turn down. Really excited for him, and this would be obviously a very good signing for Man City, and they're going to take some stopping next season.
Yeah, our good friend Charlie reckons he could play in that Gundogan role.
Yeah,
interesting to see.
Exactly,
but that's also the Bernardo Silva role. So it's like, okay, the Gundogan role is on the bench a lot of the time, but
he's effective when he comes on, though, isn't he? That's the thing.
Oh man, so effective when he comes on. Like, if City let Gundogan go, like, they should be doing everything to keep him, because he just pops up with all the important goals, as we saw on the final day of the Premier League season.
Exactly that, yeah.
Guys, it's been awesome having so many of you with us. We'll move on. We've got a couple of minutes left of the show, so it's time to talk. If you ever need us, guys, we're here for you.
Feels like we're agony uncles, doesn't it?
Get a question in the chat. I liked it. There's some soft music with that as well. It's like mellow end to the show.
Really
here.
Mellow end. Come on.
We'll read quick fire here, because I know there's been so many questions, and thank you guys for being so interactive. So we'll do some quick fire answers. James 98. Any news on Mo Kamara? Do you think he'll choose Leeds or Brighton?
Oh, I don't know loads about this deal, I've got to admit. Like, while I've been out here, like, I've been chasing a lot of deals. I've only had one message on this, and that was to do with Leeds. So I would say, just from what I've heard personally, that I'd go with Leeds.
Yeah, they've got money coming in the bank with to sell Raphinha. Big money there. Desira, any updates on Mo Salah's contract? It's a year left, isn't it, Dean? Like, it's unlikely.
There's one more attempt, basically. There's one more attempt that Liverpool can make. It's not going to be at the numbers that Salah wants, but it's a take it or leave it. Like, is this your farewell tour, or are you going to sign up for more? Like, I imagine it's a farewell tour.
Oh, nuclear atoms. I'll answer this one because I'm a big fan of Botman. I'm gutted Milan didn't get him. He was Maldini's first choice.
Can't believe he didn't go there.
Honestly, like, he's been linked with Milan for the last 12 months. Yeah. Will Pope be first choice? Yeah, absolutely. Dubravka's a very good keeper, but Pope's been bought to play. With Botman coming in, to make it more appealing. Yeah, I think Newcastle defence will be decent, and I cannot wait to see Trippier's price. If Trippier is 5.0, he's in my team. The set-piece threat from Trips is so good. I think, Dean, you owned him at the end of last season in FPL, but that Newcastle defence is looking very good, especially with Botman, especially with Pope. Probably not too hard buy in FPL, because Pope was 5.5 last year, unless he has a big drop. If he's 5.0, we consider him. But yeah, I like Newcastle.
They've got a really good team. They're building a really nice team. They just need those final touches now. Like I said earlier, if it was Calvert-Lewin and Diaby, then they've got something that can seriously push into that top end of the Prem.
Yeah. What do you reckon to Wolves? And is Neves going to stay, Dean? I think Pedro Neto at Wolves could be the only FPL asset I'm interested in, knowing he's now fit and the fixtures are good. But Neves, what do you reckon?
I still think they're going to face a challenge to keep hold of him. I think that someone will end up coming in, whether that's Man United or whoever else, but someone will struggle to sign the midfielder that they want, and Neves will be worth a go.
Settled.
But at the moment, it's looking like Wolves might be lucky and might keep him.
Julian Alvarez, I think he's being a bit overlooked. Like, this guy is dynamite coming from Argentina. Is he been signed from? It's River, isn't it? I'm pretty sure it was at River. He's not going to come in straight into the 11, but when he gets game time, he'll score goals, won't he?
Yeah, he's going to get chances. Don't know how often, but like, they're still happy with the number of rotators that they've got in that attack, and he's going to get time. So don't put him in your team, obviously, at the start of the season, but he might be one that comes into play. Don't forget, like, the World Cup's going to cause a bit of havoc during the middle of the season.
Yeah. Gravy Dave, love that name. Gravy Dave, I don't think we've seen you around here before. Yeah. Make sure you hit subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Monday, Friday, we're doing these streams all through the season, 7 p.m. UK time. I know today's Tuesday, a little bit different, but by next week or the week after, Mondays and Fridays. Lingard, West Ham, what's happening? Or is there any other clubs we should be thinking about?
Yeah, there's one other club. I don't actually know who it is, but apparently Lingard has to have a choice between West Ham now and one other club that West Ham are actually worried about. West Ham have, Deposit doesn't even like to talk about him anymore. He's so bored of it. He's like, yes, we're still interested in him. We still want him to join. He knows everything he could possibly need to know about joining us. The numbers involved, the ambition. He knows the team. They couldn't have done any more. Like, if he doesn't want to join them, fair enough. But ultimately, there's one other team there that might end up taking him away. But we'll see. I think West Ham would be the perfect place for him to go right now.
I'm getting so confused with days of the week. It is Thursday today, and we are doing these streams on Mondays and Fridays moving forward.
I couldn't have picked you up on that because I have literally no idea what day it is. So thanks for letting me know it is Thursday. I'm in proper time warp here. I've been in America now for like 2 weeks. I've got another week to go, and every day is the same. So I've no idea. You could have said it was any day.
Sticky and the same. Oh, Nukrams, great question. Someone I love, and he was so good in the Champions League last year. He scored 6 goals for Villarreal and the champs. I think he's got a buyout clause around 34 mil. I guess that's euros. At West Ham, any updates? Dan Juma to West Ham could be huge, that move.
Yeah, I mean, there hasn't been any like major progress on it. I know there are a couple of sticking points on it from West Ham's point of view. Like, as a player, they love him. I know there are a couple of profile
perfect points for Moyes. Fast forwards.
Yeah. So like, that's fine. I think they're just checking about more of his background, get to know him a bit more. How does he fit in with the squad? And then, obviously right now, Villarreal, they don't want to sell him. There's no rush, and if it's going to happen, it's got to suit them. There's like 3-4 Villarreal players right now that are like part of like heavy pursuits, basically. Like, we don't know Pau Torres. There's a couple of others too. So they're making sure their own team doesn't fall apart. Danjuma would be a very exciting addition, though. So I'm interested to see how it pans out and whether they do manage to get him.
Last question from Abra tonight, guys. And thank you all for your questions. And sorry we've not been able to get to all of them. But Arsenal bringing in good attacking players is more goals yet. Arsenal forwards with their fixtures, good FPL options. They are. And I think if Jesus is at a good price, many will go there. If Saka is at a lower price than Jesus, though, I still think that many will go Saka. And don't forget, he was way underpriced last season. He started the season at 6.5. I think he ended it at 6.7, 6.8. But he was an 8 million asset all day long last year, Saka. 100%. So expect a nice little boost there, but hopefully not too high.
Yeah, I think you're right there. 8 would be fair, wouldn't it? We couldn't complain.
Guys, we will be back next week, either on Monday or Tuesday. We'll let you know. Follow us on Twitter for more. That's at Chasing Green Arrows. Obviously, if you're subscribed to the channel, you get the little notification. Let us know about the format of today's show. We want your comments because we've got a month's worth of content for you guys. We want to know if we should be following this sort of format or moving to something different. If different, let us know the sorts of features you would like, because we've got that flexible section where it's tips and chips, talking about a different FPL topic every single show. So thank you guys for watching. He's been Dean from... Where are you again in America?
I'm in Palm Springs.
Palm
Springs. Yeah.
Love that. 110 Fahrenheit, Palm Springs. I've been Gianni here in the UK, and we will see you next week. Thanks for watching.